If I'm on a date and you order the beans,
I'm full raw, baby.
all right, I'm in for that.
No notes. Oh, that's not true.
They've been stabbed.
And 2 sauces are always better than 1.
That mocktail made me be done with mocktails.
I could have sat there and eaten it like a soup.
This is not rigatoni.
It still would
It
not
still would
have
not
been
have been brave, but I respect it. Golf clap.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Aftertaste LA. If you're just joining us for the first time or you're returning back, hit the subscribe button. We do this every other week, bringing you honest reviews of restaurants from every corner of Los Angeles.
This week, we're doing things a little bit differently. We're reviewing 2 restaurants instead of 1. We went to Cento Pasta Bar and Raw Bar. They're right next to each other, same ownership group. I'm Team Pasta. She's Team Raw Bar. Let's talk about it.
So for me, I actually started hearing about this place from when the Raw Bar opened, which was last year, which is a couple years, right, after the Pasta Bar opened.
Yeah, Pasta Bar opened in 2021, and it's been on my radar. I never really got to that part of town because there's such great pasta on the part of town that I always lived. So I never had that motivation to go. But then Raw Bar opened up right next door. They're literally smack dab next to each other, and it became more intriguing.
Yeah, for me, I think my Instagram is aesthetics biased. So given that the Raw Bar opened up and it has a very distinctive visual style, it kind of looks like a Mykonos underwater grotto kind of situation. If you're having trouble picturing that and you're listening on audio, it's like white coral textures on the walls, on the bar, even like the back bar is kind of in that shape and color, which actually looks really difficult to like be working there and have to work with that because it's all like very like rounded. I feel like stuff would be falling off the counters a lot, but it looks really cool.
It's definitely the most TikTok, Instagrammable restaurant, I think, in Los Angeles. This is a really crazy looking dining room. Pasta Bar is a lot more subdued. Like you walk in, it's very clean, modern, sleek. There's an open kitchen. The Raw Bar, not open kitchen, but you really are transported to a completely different world. You're not in Los Angeles anymore once you walk into this place.
And I really admire them for that. I think a lot of places would have been tempted to just copy paste and, be like, well, this is the pasta side and this is the Raw Bar, but it would look kind of the same.
Yeah.
They were like, no, we are going 100%.
The person who designed Raw Bar, he used to work at Somni and Vespertine, the Bazaar, all these kind of provocative dining room spaces that did a really good job of transporting you to a totally new place, making the aesthetic of the room be a main character. So Raw Bar clearly has done that. It's all over my feed too. One of the most Instagrammed, TikToked restaurants. You walk in there, you're like, oh yeah, this was built to be a TikTok.
Just visually incredible. I mean, the monotone alone, incredible. And then you have like tables a little bit built into the wall that feel very organic coming out of it. It's like this place has like ocean water running through it. Very cool.
You feel like you're in an underwater cave.
Yeah, and like the Little Mermaid or something.
And everything is really white and bright and completely different than what you're normally used to when you walk into a restaurant where everything is... It's still monotone, but because of all the textures on the wall, like the way that they painted, it's a lot of textures.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel monotone, even though it's all pretty much white and coral seafoam green aesthetic.
Yeah. And they also, I love the aesthetic of the plates, the utensils, the glasses. Like the first plate we got was this like mustardy yellow plate, and the napkins, which are kind of rose colored, were actually folded into a rose on the plate. And then you had the utensil next to it, which is like a fork, but it was like squiggly and it had a little curly Q at the end. It was just joyful, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. Even like you look at the tower, they do these seafood towers, right? We're gonna talk about that. We got one of them. But the way this tower looked, it's not like a raw bar tower that you've ever seen at any other like steakhouse or classic raw bar. It's very, very aesthetically pleasing and kind of stained glass almost look to it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and just the design choices that they made have been thought out throughout the space. And we're seeing that more in LA. I really, really enjoying seeing the dining room being a main character versus a side character.
Yeah, if you're interested in hearing more about restaurants like this, our episode on Lucia would also fall into this category for sure.
Absolutely, check it out. That was the last episode we did. Flip side, Pasta Bar's ambiance is definitely a little bit more modern and sleek. They have an open kitchen. They have a really nice patio. And the patio is kind of in this weird space where it's not small, but it's not big. It's very, very in between. It's almost like this size where it's too small to feel like a big outdoor space, and it's too big to feel like a small outdoor space. I think they had maybe 20 or 30 seats in there, and then equally same amount of seats inside. So not big restaurants. Both of these places are on the smaller side of restaurants. And I thought that Pasta Bar was just a little bit more boring looking, although I enjoyed sitting at the counter. It was kind of like a chef's counter experience. You get to watch them make the pastas. They have a nice wood fire grill. So totally different experience from sitting at Raw Bar. You feel like you're in LA when you're in Pasta Bar. You do not feel like you're in LA when you're in Raw Bar. Let's talk about the seating, the comfort, the noise levels, comparing the two places. I thought the seats at Raw Bar were less comfortable than at Pasta Bar.
Agreed.
But the noise levels were kind of the same. But none of them really felt all that comfortable.
No.
I think they chose aesthetic over comfort here.
Actually, I think Raw Bar gets a little bit rowdier as the night goes on. When we went very early, and as we were leaving, it was kind of packed.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of having a little bit more of a party atmosphere, which is also kind of just how the space feels.
Yeah, it's definitely a drink spot, a snack spot, not as much of a dinner spot as Pasta Bar. You think pasta, you're like, I'm going to have dinner.
So the drinks menu at the Raw Bar is pretty concise. There are like 6 cocktails, 1 mocktail, and then 7 wines of the various colors. Pretty simple, like 3 ingredient things. They don't go into a lot of description on these, so you may not know exactly what you're going to be getting, but they look nice, they look inoffensive, and like they would make a wide swath of people happy.
Pasta Bar, kind of similar vibe. They have wines by the glass. They have some cocktails, maybe 7 or 8 cocktails. And when I think of pasta, I mostly think of wine. They have a wine list if you want to get a bottle. So it kind of depends on what experience you're trying to have. We were not drinking for Raw Bar. We ordered mocktails only. And then we were drinking for Pasta Bar. But after all that is said and done, I think I would stick to wine at both of these places.
I would agree with that.
The Pasta Bar, we had the fig and walnut cocktail, and we had 2 glasses of wine. The cocktail was good. It was sweet, but it felt almost dessert-like, something that I would finish the meal with. But because, like you said, the descriptions were vague as far as what this drink actually is. Like it said, fig and walnut, scotch, sweet vermouth, apricot. I was almost expecting either like a Negroni or a Manhattan riff, something like that, and it felt more like a really sweet, desserty old fashioned. So I think next time I'm just gonna stick to wine because I thought your skin contact wine that you got was quite tasty. My favorite
Yeah.
drink that we had at Pasta Bar.
And that was, I think, one of their wines. Like it said Cento.
Yeah, there was a few wines that they had on the buy the glass list that were Cento wine.
Yeah.
So we also had the chilled red was also a Cento brand. That one we didn't like as much. I thought it was a little bit great start, but the finish was super flat, almost a little bitter.
Yeah. The orange wine was lovely. It was a little bit effervescent, a little bit funky, but nothing too overpowering. So it really paired nicely with all the food that we got.
Yeah, super good. And the one wine we actually wanted, when we ordered it, we were told they were sold out of it. So it's kind of tough when you have 3 red wines. One of them was a Merlot, which I don't like. Then there was the chilled red, which we had. And then the one that they were out of, which is what I wanted, would have paired the best with pasta because it was more of a dry red wine. That's what I wanted, and we didn't want to commit to a bottle. I think I would like to see a little bit of a larger by the glass list for a pasta restaurant.
That's usually my line. I love to hear it. I agree. 100%.
With Raw Bar, I was not overly impressed with the mocktail that I had. It was fine. It was kind of like an Amaro spritzy type of bitter soda water thing. That mocktail made me be done with mocktails. I'm over it. I'm done. Like, it's $20 for a glass of juice that never really quite satisfies me in the way that I'm expecting it to. And then when I see the bill and I see that I paid $20 for that, I would much rather pay $10 or $8 for a ginger ale or just have water. Like, I'm all for non-alcoholic experiences, but I'd much rather have a ginger ale. A ginger ale has satisfied me more than any mocktail ever has. Oh yeah, you talk about your watery version mocktail.
Unfortunately, this virgin pina colada was not good. But I have to say, even if it did have rum in it, it still would not have been good. It wasn't the fact that the rum was missing that it wasn't good. Yeah, this one was just very sweet. Didn't really have too much flavor to it. I didn't taste any pineapple whatsoever. So.
Yeah, it was mid.
Yeah, unfortunately. I honestly, like, the $24 tiny pina colada that I got at a pool at Las Vegas was just about as good as this one. And that one was not good.
Yeah, and this one was what? $16, $17. It wasn't that much cheaper.
Yeah, and the only reason it was $24 in Las Vegas was because I had a double shot in it.
That's actually not bad for Las Vegas prices these days.
Well, maybe it was $48 for the double.
That makes more
Now that
sense.
I'm
That's more of a Vegas price for
Yeah.
a double shot drink. They always get you.
They really do.
So, the part that most people come here to listen to, the food. Are you raw bar or pasta bar?
I'm full raw, baby.
Ooh, I like pasta.
So the raw bar menu is pretty short. I think, of course, the star here is the raw items. So they have 2 sizes of seafood tower and then a few options for raw stuff at the top of the main section, like scallops, oysters, etc., that you can order more like a la carte. They have a crudo and then like deviled eggs, so like some snacky stuff. And then they have larger formats, branzino, a steak, and a pasta from next door. Mm-hmm. So it's not a huge menu, but it gets the job done.
Pasta bar is a lot more traditional of a menu. They have 8 or 9 pastas. They have a couple of salads, a tartare and a crudo, a couple of large format items. The branzino also makes its face shown.
I think it's different, though, right?
It's a different set, but it's still a whole fish grilled situation, just different flavors because different restaurants. And then they each have a really small dessert menu, maybe 2 or 3 items of the desserts.
Yeah.
But I would say both menus are on the smaller side of things. We're going to do all of Raw Bar's dinner first, and then we're going to do all of Pasta Bar's dinner next, just to make the continuity a little bit easier.
So, Raw Bar. We started with the raw seafood tower.
The big one.
The big one.
Or so they say.
Of course. I mean, for us, I think we pretty much always order the big one.
I think it comes with 8 oysters.
Yes.
4 shrimp, 2 scallop, 2 uni, and 4 crab claws as far as the amounts. And there's some mignonettes, there's an aioli for the crab, and then the scallop and the uni is dressed up. Let's talk about the actual, like, what they are.
Yeah, so starting with the uni at the top, they were wrapped in shiso leaf with like a soy glaze and then a tiny sliver of lemon on top, which I thought was just such a nice element in there. I don't think I've had uni quite like this before, and I really, really enjoyed it. You know, you eat it like a little taco almost, and just dressed up with all those things. It was very, very nice.
Yeah, really pleasant, really refreshing. All the flavors were singing together, and it was a really great way to start. I would recommend anyone that orders a tower to eat the uni first.
The uni itself also was the most enjoyable uni I've had. It really had a nice flavor and a great texture as well.
Yeah.
Like, it was very like tender. It didn't taste chalky.
It was, yeah, clean, high quality uni, probably from Santa Barbara, which has some of the best uni on the planet. When in terms of talking about uni, the best uni is either from Hokkaido or Santa Barbara. Those are kind of like the Rolls Royce and Ferrari of uni, and there are varying degrees of levels to it. Uni from anywhere else that I've tried, I have noticed I don't like as much. It's a little bit more iodine, irony, and like less clean ocean flavor, which is what I want when I taste uni.
Yeah.
This was a really great addition to the seafood tower. And just in general, all of the items on this seafood tower, the way that they were dressed and garnished were really, really elegant and thought through and soigné.
So moving on, we had shrimp, which were really nicely cooked. I think they were cooked quite perfectly. And
Agree.
I love how they put the cocktail sauce on the shrimp. So it's already ready to go. You just pop it in your mouth. Or if you're like me, you take the aioli from the crab claw area and you put that on too, because I love a sauce and 2 sauces are always better than 1.
I agree. I do like that they've peeled the shrimp for you. They've dressed it up. For the setting that we're in, it makes a lot of sense. Normally, when I think about a raw bar, oyster shack type place, and they give me the peel and eat shrimps and I'm getting my hands dirty, I like that experience too. But for this, it was nice to have everything really kind of done for me. Really well seasoned, really good quality shrimp.
Yes. Yes. The shrimp were great. Next, we had the crab claws, which were, prepped and were they? I don't think
They're
they were
snow crab.
cracked, right?
They're not cracked. These are actually really kind of standard snow claws. These were my least favorite thing on the tower because they were so plain and boring compared to all the other stuff that was like really dressed and there was more done to them. These were just kind of snow crab claws that you would see almost at like a buffet. They were kind of an afterthought.
Yeah, I agree. They were tasty. I liked the aioli, but yeah, compared to everything else, they were kind of wah.
Yeah. Also, out of all the things, they were probably the messiest to eat comparatively on this tower. Not too messy, but
Yeah.
yeah, didn't excite me.
Yeah. So next we had the scallop, and I really love raw scallop. I know you love scallop as well. Had some grapefruit on there, a little bit of cucumber, like finely minced cucumber in a sauce.
Yeah, that's like a brunoise.
Yeah, and then some herb oil.
Yeah.
Wow, this was one of my favorite bites, I think, of this tower. And on the opposite from the crab, I love how they've done this up. I've never had such a dressed up raw scallop. I mean, aside from like a crudo or a ceviche, but not like in the shell, where you're just taking it as one bite.
I think this is in any other place, you can put this dish on the menu as a scallop crudo. They're served on the scallop shell. At Bestia, they do that, and it's one of their most popular dishes. I just love the way it looks when it's served on the shell like that. And it's funny to have it like right next to those crab claws because it just, one looks so fancy and pretty and nice, and then it's just crab claws.
And last, we have the oysters.
I think for me, coming at it from a cook's chef's perspective, the things that I'm judging oysters on is how they were shucked, how they were presented. These were shucked really, really well. There wasn't any kind of shell bits or debris. They didn't pierce the oyster. A lot of places that have oysters, they're shucked well, but then you notice that the oysters aren't pristine and perfect. They've been stabbed by whoever shucked them because they weren't shucking them properly. They did not make any of these errors here. These were really properly shucked and placed oysters on a tower. So kudos to them. My one note on this tower is I wanted it to be a little bit bigger. It was $97 for the 3-tier tower. You got 8 oysters, 4 shrimp, 2 scallops, 2 uni. I would rather pay like $120 and get a full dozen oysters and maybe 6 shrimp and 3 scallop. Just a little bit more for it to be considered a large. I think any other place that has a large seafood tower, this would be considered a small.
Yeah.
As far as the amount that's on here. I'm not saying that the price, like they're being cheap or anything like that. I just would be more apt to pay more money to get more shellfish. I could probably always add it on, but that's my one note here. Other than that, I think anyone that comes here should be ordering this tower.
Yes, absolutely. It's their thing. It's
Yeah.
the Raw Bar.
And I'm pretty sure every table that I saw had either the small or the large one on there. You know, you're going to the Raw Bar. You got to get raw seafood.
Absolutely. Got to get raw.
The next thing we ordered was the chicken and waffle. And the quotes there is because it's chicken liver mousse and waffle, not fried chicken, which is what you normally see. The chicken liver mousse itself came with a little bit of a raspberry kind of sauce. It was really nicely garnished and pretty. You got 4, wedges of a whole waffle. The waffle itself was really nice and crisp and sweet and well balanced. I thought the actual quality of the waffle itself was really good. Same with the mousse. It was not irony at all. It was really creamy and smooth. The fruit sauce was fine. I prefer more of a caramelized onion with chicken liver mousse, but that's a personal preference, not really a knock on the dish. But I'd skip it. I think it was a little heavy for me. I just didn't... After I had my one waffle wedge, I was kind of like, that was enough for me. It was a lot. Like, for a group, if you have 4 people, it's kind of perfect. Everyone gets a quarter waffle, spread a little chicken liver on there, and enjoy it that way.
The number one thing I kind of remember about this dish is that the portions were mismatched. Like, there was a lot more waffle than there was mousse.
Yeah, I agree.
And then, yeah, what you said about it being heavy is, spot on, especially, if you're going to get anything else, I guess.
Right.
It's going to fill you up.
Yeah, it was very elegant and very pretty, and I think great for a group, but if you're coming here with just 2 people, it's definitely a skip.
I thought the concept was cute.
The next thing we had was actually a special. It's probably not on the menu anymore, but I think how a restaurant does specials is really important in the judgment of that restaurant. So the special was beans with clams and bacon, which anytime there's beans on a menu, especially if there's smoked pork product in it, I'm ordering it. And then you throw on top of the fact that there's clams in it, you had me at hello. These were delicious. There was some nice roasted wedges of tomato in there that were kind of almost half dehydrated, really, really rich in umami. The beans themselves were really nicely cooked. The little clams in there that you found were little gifts along with the pieces of bacon. Definitely heavy, more of a winter dish. We went there in the winter time. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of perfect. I don't really understand why it was on this menu. It didn't really seem to match anything else. It almost seemed like this should have been on the pasta bar menu versus the raw bar menu. And it very well could have been on both menus. We
That's
don't
true.
know that, but definitely fit more of the pasta bar than the raw bar side of things.
Yeah, I mean, man, I'm just here for the clams and the bacon. I actually love beans, but in that setting with the meal we were having, the dissonance, there was a lot of dissonance for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm eating this, like, tomatoey, beany soup casserole thing
Yeah.
after just having shrimp and oysters and
Yeah.
scallops. It was just a weird juxtaposition.
Yeah, and like raw bar is very like date night spot. You don't want to be eating a big bowl of beans on date night.
Yeah.
It's just not the smart move.
Of course.
I gotta tell you though, if I'm on a date and you order the beans, I'd be like, all right, I'm in for that. That sounds great. Like that brave, but I respect it.
Sorry, I did not order the beans on our first date.
That's okay.
I don't think there were any. So the last thing we got at the Raw Bar was the Branzino. And first, let me say why we ordered it, because I don't think I normally would have ordered it. Like, when I go to a Raw Bar, I'm there for the seafood, yes, but I'm there for the raw seafood. And this caught my eye because I had seen a picture of it on Instagram that day. And I was like, oh man, that looks really good. It is a whole Bronzino, head on, tail on. It's been, split open. All the bones are taken out, and then it's stuffed with all these aromatics with ginger and garlic and lemongrass and just a lot of really flavorful, really delicious stuff. And then it's grilled. And then on top of it, they put a pool of the Thai red curry. And then on top are herbs, scallions, there are Thai basil and cilantro. And they go ham with all of these things. Like, they give you a really nice amount of all of it. So it's just bursting with flavor. You've got the smoke from the grill. No notes. Oh, that's not true. Okay, one small note. I would have loved a side of rice with this.
Yeah, that would have been nice. I
Yeah.
agree. I think that this is probably one of the best Bronzino dishes that I've had in Los Angeles. And I've had a lot of Bronzino dishes in Los Angeles. This was delicious.
Yeah.
It had no business being this good. It's not something that I would order at a raw bar either. I'm really glad we did, because we did go for dinner. We wanted something filling. The other things that we had, like the seafood tower, it's great, but it's not really going to fill you up for dinner. I've harped on a bunch of herbs being put on top of a plate a lot over the course of the last year or two. This is the occasion where I want a lot of herbs on top of the plate. They were delicious, they were fresh, and they really complemented the overall flavors going on there. Just a really, really perfect dish. I love the plate that it was on. It was kind of like a fish, like metal fish shaped plate. And it was spicy. It was not like LA mild spicy. It wasn't crazy light your ass on fire spicy, but it had some heat. It was great. I respected it. Great dish. No notes.
Yeah, they killed it.
The last thing I want to say about this dish from a technical side, from the chef side, perfect cook on the actual fish, and whoever did the butchery did a really great job of deboning. I think a lot of times I get a whole Branzino that's been deboned, and I always find a few strays, or they leave the spine in there a little bit too much, so you still can't eat the whole thing. This was like, unless you wanted to attack the tail or the head, which were left on, it was very, very well butchered, so nice job. Okay, so that concludes what we had at Raw Bar. Now, let's go to the pasta. Love pasta. We didn't want anything to do with the salads or the tartare or the crudo. We were here for pasta, and then we saw two things that caught our eye that could be an appetizer, could be a main course. I would say the mussels definitely could be a main course, but we had the octopus and the mussels, which had andouille, coconut milk, vadouvan, and some grilled bread. Nice bowl of steamy mussels, brothy, couple of chunks of grilled bread, like everything that you want and need and love about mussels when you order it at a restaurant. I thought it was really delicious. The andouille was really, really nice and had a mild heat level. I actually was expecting it to be a little bit spicier, but I didn't really get the coconut milk or the Vadouvan. That really those flavors do not jive well with andouille in my brain. So when I ordered it, I'm like, oh, I'm really curious how this is going to come out. And at first, I didn't like it, but then I kept eating it and I started to like it a lot more and more as it went on. And by the time we were finished with this bowl of mussels and all we had was empty shells and a little bit of broth, I was pretty satisfied.
I thought it was great from the get-go. Yeah, I love the sauce. I could have sat there and eaten it like a soup, but we had a whole bunch of pastas coming, so I did not want to do that, or God forbid, order more bread, even though it was very, very nice and grilled bread, delicious. Just a lovely dish. I love mussels.
Yeah, anytime we see steamed mussels on a menu and you don't order it, I always regret it. So I'm really glad that we got it here.
So the next thing we got was the charred octopus, which came with romesco, celery, potato, and almond. I really liked this. I love the flavor and texture that the octopus gets when it's charred at the ends, the like crunchiness, the kind of umami-ness, really nice. I love a romesco. I've never really come across one that I didn't like. Very nice. There are only a couple potatoes in there. It was a very, very, very little amount of potato, but I wasn't really all that mad about it because it is one of their smaller courses. I did find the celery a little confusing. It was quite large and only 2 pieces of it, I think. I don't know if you need it, and if you do want to have it in there, I would expect it to be a little bit more chopped up and distributed throughout the dish.
I agree on the celery. Don't really know what it was doing there. This is a very classic kind of combo. The romesco was a bit sweet for me. I thought that it needed a little bit more pimenton. I used to work for Jose Andres, so I'm very, very experienced and well-versed in some of these dishes and sauces and things. And to me, that romesco was a little too sweet, not smoky enough. Everything else about it was great. And we were actually using our bread to sop some of it up. So it was good, but I just thought that it could be better. The octopus itself was good. I would say it was 95% perfectly cooked. It could have been steamed or however they pre-cook the octopus, maybe like an extra 20 minutes there. It could have been a little bit more tender. I love the crunchy bits. I saw, because it's an open kitchen, I was kind of watching how they were preparing it. It says charred octopus on the menu, but it's being pan-seared, but they have a wood fire grill. I'm not understanding why they wouldn't throw this on the grill. Octopus is really good on a wood fire grill.
Yeah.
So it just makes more sense. Maybe it's just logistically how they've divided up the responsibilities in the kitchen line. All that being said, if you like octopus dishes, I think you should order it. I think you'd enjoy it. Let's move on to the star of the show, the pastas. We had 3 of them. We're going to talk about it. I love pasta. I would say pasta is one of my favorite things to cook. So the first pasta we had was the broccoli bucatini. It had garlic, anchovies, some breadcrumbs, some burrata, and the broccoli itself was kind of like a pesto sauce that they tossed the bucatini in. Really, really good cook on the pasta. I thought the flavor of the broccoli was really, really nice. The burrata was pureed or whipped, so it was like super, super creamy, and like you mixed it all together and just worked really, really well. The breadcrumbs were nice. I don't know if bucatini is my shape of choice for this pasta, and I've had this version of this pasta before. I prefer it more like kind of chunks of broccoli rabe and sausage with some orecchiette. It's just a different version. It's just not the one that I personally prefer.
I love broccoli. And I think for me, one of the things I love about it the most is the texture when it is cooked perfectly. So I was kind of missing that in this dish. And I thought I was really going to like it. And I was really surprised that it was not my favorite.
I think it's almost like broccoli cheddar vibes. The sauce.
Like a soup?
Not the, but like the flavor of broccoli cheddar soup, that like aroma in your mouth that you get when you take a bite of broccoli cheddar soup. You're not getting any texture.
Yeah.
You're getting the broccoli flavor and the bits and the cheese and everything else that you love, but the texture is missing. It was kind of a little bit, the breadcrumbs were doing a heavy lifting on the texture side of things.
Well, and on that note, I thought that burrata was maybe not the right cheese for this. I love burrata, but burrata like itself doesn't have a ton of flavor. It's mostly like creamy, and that's very enjoyable. But in terms of changing the flavor of a dish, I mean, maybe that's what they were going for. It doesn't add a whole lot except for texture. For me, I would have loved just a massive amount of Parmesan in this.
Yeah, I think some parm or even some like grana padano, something sharp, maybe some pecorino.
Yeah, or maybe taking it more like a pesto and like literally making a broccoli pesto would have been nice.
Yeah. I think some shapes that I would like to see with this dish instead of bucatini would be some orecchiette or some trophy, which is very traditionally served with pesto. Those I think would have been making all the other elements on here sing a little bit more. That's my note.
Next, we had what I believe is their top seller pasta, which is the spicy pomodoro. So this pasta was rigatoni, and it had some Calabrian chili, truffle, and basil, and ricotta. Mm-hmm. So the ricotta comes on top. You have a little herb oil in a little divot in the ricotta, so then you mix it all through, and I loved this. I thought that the spice, heat, warmth level, it wasn't very high, but it was very nice. It just embraced your taste buds warmly.
I think similar to the mussels.
Yeah.
The heat level there.
Yeah, and you can taste the tomato. I thought the sauce had a really nice texture to it. And then mixing in the ricotta and the herb oil, it just had all those flavor elements that I was kind of missing from the broccoli pasta.
Yeah, this was definitely a better balanced dish. The pasta itself was cooked really well.
Yeah.
The pomodoro was creamy and nice. It almost kind of had like vodka vibes, even though I don't think they're putting any cream in it.
Right, but you get that from the ricotta.
Yeah, you could tell that there's a reason why this is their signature. This is definitely, if you were craving a bowl of pasta, in your brain, what you think of, this is kind of what you think of when you're craving a bowl of pasta. I do have one note.
What's that?
This is not rigatoni.
Yeah, you're right. It's not.
It's not rigatoni. So this pasta that's on this plate is lumaci.
Okay.
Lumaci means snail in Italian. A little snail with a curve. Rigatoni is more shape, kind of like spiraled, like longer tubes.
Yeah.
Rigatoni would have been fine here. This is rigatoni sounds better on paper. I think that's why they did this. But I actually prefer lumaci to rigatoni.
You mean they switched it out on purpose?
I'm saying they're calling it rigatoni because it sells better.
No way.
I guarantee you.
Do you think people know pasta shapes at that level?
I think people know rigatoni and not many people know lumaci. So it's easier to say spicy rig. Also, that's like the most popular dish at Carbone is the spicy rig. So they're kind of playing off that fame there by having their spicy rigatoni, but it's not rigatoni. And if they think it's rigatoni, they're taking some very, very liberal.
It's just got to be a mistake.
It's not there's no way. This is their signature dish.
But rigatoni is a tube, right?
Rigatoni is a tube. It's shape. It's got ridges to catch the sauce.
Right.
Lumaci looks like a small little snail. I don't know what their reasons are for the label. It's just my one note.
That's a fair note.
Yeah. It's everything about this pasta dish was absolutely delicious. Everything about it. Except for the fact that it's the wrong pasta shape on the menu.
You know, the funniest part is, like, I don't even look at the pasta shapes for the most part.
Yeah.
I'm mostly interested in what comes on it. And then I trust them to choose the appropriate
Yeah.
pasta for that.
I think if they can sell more bowls of this by calling it rigatoni, more power to them. But just so they know, I know. Now, the last pasta that we had, which was my favorite of the night, was the carbonara. Love a carbonara. This carbonara had chili crisp on it. Had a nice, like, soft, what I believe is a sous vide egg or a soft poached egg. It didn't look like an actual poached egg. It looked like a sous vide egg. And it was bucatini. It actually didn't say what pasta shape on the menu, but it was bucatini, which is the proper shape for a carbonara. It was delicious. It was really creamy, really perfectly cooked pasta. The egg was really, really nice. The chili crunch is so genius. Next time I make carbonara, I'm putting chili crisp in it. Really, just my favorite bowl of the night. I would come back here and eat this bowl any day of the week. What's your take on this carbonara, though?
I thought it was good. I like my pancetta to be a little bit more like heftier, the individual pieces. These were quite small and kind of crisp, like thin. I do enjoy it when they're a little bit bigger and you can get that like chew on them as part of the experience of the pasta. But, this is a very respectable way to make it. It was good. I would eat it again. I think for all three pastas, I found all three to just be a little bit overly salty for me. I understand restaurant salty is a thing. I thought this was a couple degrees over that.
My biggest complaint when it comes to pasta at restaurants is they do not season the water properly, or they don't season the water at all. The pasta seasoning is totally off. This is how it is supposed to be seasoned. To me, this was perfectly cooked pasta. The salt level, the al dente level, everything about it, they really have it dialed in. Most people are going to think that's too salty. My experience as a chef cooking for people is that people like salt less than they think, and there is like degrees of where you want to be at. I thought this was on the cusp. I thought it was perfect for me, but I could see why you would think it was a little bit too salty. I didn't think it was too salty. I'm just going to have to respectfully disagree.
I just think that the world has been split into people who cook at restaurants and people who eat at restaurants. And I think that,
both.
yes, but if your background is coming from cooking in restaurants, it's across the board. Every restaurant is very, very salty. And a lot of people agree that it is too salty.
One thing I will say, I was looking at all the pastas coming out on the pass. I saw all of them. They all looked really, really consistent, really identical, hot. I just thought the kitchen did a really, really good job. They were really dialed in, I would say. Golf clap. Overall, my assessment of the pasta program here is that it is a good pasta program, just as good as pretty much any place in LA. It has a really nice balanced menu of shapes and options, and the way it's executed is proper. If you come to Cento Pasta Bar, you're going to have a good bowl of pasta.
Yeah.
Which bowl of pasta that is totally depends on what you like, but there's something here for everybody.
Yeah. They did have a really nice array of pastas.
So that wraps up all the food at Cento Pasta Bar and Raw Bar. We did not get dessert at either of these two places. We attempted to get dessert at Pasta Bar. Every table was ordering this banana tiramisu. We wanted to try it. We go to order it. They were out of it. They were not out of it when we sat down, but unfortunately, our timing was off, and we did not get to have it. So with that being said, let's talk about the service at Raw Bar and Pasta Bar. You want to go first?
Sure. So Raw Bar, everyone was very nice, but I thought that the service was one of their weaker categories. We got asked a lot how we were doing, how things were. They were constantly around us refilling waters, wiping down the table, changing out plates and utensils. And yes, I do want them to do that, but like I'd rather that be the only thing. Now, part of this is we were sitting at a counter, and it is very hard to service parties at a counter because no matter what, you're kind of reaching over people. But for me, that's like a reason to keep it to a minimum because every time you do reach in to do something, it just is so much more obtrusive than if you were at a regular dining table.
Yeah, and the thing about sitting at a counter versus a table is you have this bartender in front of you that is mostly in charge of servicing you, but then you have everyone else around, the supporting staff, helping out. So I think sometimes they weren't communicating with each other about, handling certain things. We were asked questions twice here and there. There is a fine line of doing too much and doing enough to feel like you've given good service without being overbearing. And they definitely teetered on the more overbearing side of things. Not the worst problem. I'd rather have that problem than the opposite, where you're ignored the whole time. But it wasn't polished. I thought Pasta Bar, on the other hand, a lot more polished service. Our server gave us a really good kind of succinct breakdown of the menu, his favorites, what the greatest hits are. Didn't really overstay his welcome, but gave us everything we needed. We got our first courses, they checked in once, and then kind of let us have our dinner and our conversation. It didn't feel obtrusive at all.
Yeah.
So I would say Pasta Bar service definitely better than Raw Bar.
Yeah.
Overall, experience-wise, these are two very, very different restaurants. Pasta Bar felt more like a traditional restaurant. It felt like a place I want to go and eat dinner, sit at the counter, watch the chefs work. Raw Bar definitely feels more of a place where I want to go and have a drink or two and maybe a few snacks, a couple oysters, things like that. Not a place I think I would go back to for dinner. With that being said, do you think it's possible to do both in one night?
Yes.
Would you want to do both in one night?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
What's the move there?
You go to the Raw Bar, you start with a seafood tower. Even the large one, you're not going to get super full. So get the large one. I think for me, I would stop there, one glass of wine and the large tower. And then I'd go over to the pasta bar, have a pasta or two.
So I could see that playbook working really well. You get a tower or maybe a small snack, and then you go to Pasta Bar for dinner. Now, with that being said, both of these places are quite popular and quite busy. You have to make a reservation. So you have to go with that plan in mind. If you want to try and hit both in one night, it's totally doable.
I think as long as you have a Raw Bar reservation, you're probably good.
I'm still team pasta.
I'm still team Raw.
What do you guys think? Are you team pasta or team Raw Bar? You've never eaten there, but just from what we've described, let us know in the comments what you think is better. With that being said, we do need to give a verdict. Now, we were going back and forth about this. Do we give each individual place a verdict, or is Cento, the whole tree, get the verdict? And I think we decided on that. We're going to just grade both places as a whole. Mm-hmm. We think both of these places equally deserve this grade. So it just didn't make sense to be redundant about it.
So we give both Cento Pasta Bar and Cento Raw Bar 2 taste buds. Now, we've said a lot of complimentary things about both of these places. Here's why it's a 2. They both had some real standouts, but they both had some things that definitely weren't. So, there are highs and there are lows in here, and that's kind of, for me, what makes a 2 a 2. If this was in my neighborhood, it would be in the rotation. It's a really great resource to have around your house. For us, living in the valley, so we were basically on the other side of town from it.
This is a trek for us.
There are closer places that we will be choosing over them.
Now, for me personally, The pasta bar is a better dinner experience, and then the raw bar is better for drinks and snacks. So that's why I think I'm team pasta, because ultimately we're talking about going out to dinner. So I think it's a better dinner experience than raw bar.
The reason I put raw bar above pasta bar for me personally is that it had the standout dish of both restaurants in my mind.
The Branzino.
The Branzino just blew everything else out of the water, in my opinion.
I will cede that to you. That was definitely the best dish out of everything that we had. That Branzino was lights out.
Yeah, it was. And like we've said from the beginning, the definition of a 2 is if you're in the neighborhood, this is worth a visit.
Absolutely.
And this one is.
Until next time, let us know what you guys think, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.